Hello, you're watching TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick. I'm talking with Martin Taylor, who is the CTO of Metaswitch. We're in London at Metaswitch Connect London in a place called Bounce, which is billed as the home of ping pong. And as you can see behind us, we're in a sort of cave where they play table tennis. There's a bit of extraneous noise if people start playing around us, and the central line runs underneath the bottom of our feet. So we might get some noise from that, but we're going to try anyway. Martin, it's good to see you. It must be, I don't know, a couple of weeks since we last met.
At least that, yes.
Well, look, at an event like this, there are always lots and lots of topics under discussion. You've got a lot of customers and people in the industry here talking about how Metaswitch works and what you bring to NFV and so on. The ways in which to make network operators more agile and things like that. And the reason we like to chat with you quite a lot is because you're very, very good at breaking down complex topics into sort of bite-sized chunks. And I want you to do it again now, please. So tell us what's happening in NFV right now at the moment.
So the hot topic that people are talking about a lot right now is a thing called microservices. Microservices is a software architecture style that's extremely popular in web scale applications, but it's highly relevant to the NFV space. Now you build me as someone who breaks complicated topics down into bite-sized chunks, and actually that's really what microservices is all about. It's about taking large complicated systems problems and breaking them down into much more digestible subsystems or mini-systems, microservices in fact, which are loosely coupled. That means that they're not tightly interdependent on one another, but they all cooperate together to deliver some complex capability. The benefit of approaching things this way is that you can put small teams of people to work on a very focused part of a big problem, and have them concentrate on that, build something that's relatively simple and understandable, that contributes to the greater whole. But if you then need to revise it, enhance it, move it forward, it's quick and easy to do that, rather than the kind of monolithic style of application with millions of lines of code where every change has the risk of destabilizing something else, and typically it's 6 months between releases because of the enormous amount of testing that you have to do. You can, with a microservices based approach, you can kind of incrementally enhance the software a little bit at a time, and that makes for a kind of continuous innovation.
You see, you did make that eminently understandable, even to me.
Good.
I'll say something else. Well, you mentioned just now, Martin, the web scale world of internet applications. So what are the implications then for network operators? Why should they have to learn about and get and apply microservices?
Well, one of the things that they always say that they're looking for out of NFV is the ability to innovate more rapidly and be more agile. So as they look at the world of internet and web applications, naturally they're looking to learn lessons and emulate best practices that they see out there. And what they see is very creative use of microservices as a way of very efficiently and quickly building applications, but more importantly, incrementally enhancing and evolving those applications quickly without these very long protracted release cycles, which are more typical of what they've been used to in the telecom space.
So can you give the viewers an example of something we've all heard of that puts the concept into practice?
Well, probably the most eloquent source around microservices out there on the web is Netflix. They've written about this very, very extensively, and they've laid out the kind of the history, if you like. Back in 2008, the Netflix website was one monolithic web application, and obviously a very big and complicated one. Now they describe it as having as many as 200 microservices behind it. So they've taken that complex problem and broken it down into a lot of very small pieces, and that's enabled them to be more agile and innovative. And naturally, the network operators, who are looking at understanding best practices in microservices, they devour this material hungrily and are thinking very carefully about how those lessons can be applied to network functions virtualization.
So what does Metaswitch do, Martin, that enables a microservices architecture?
Well, we don't so much enable microservices as embrace the concept and put it into practice. And the best example of this I can give is our Clearwater IMS core solution, which actually has been in development for more than 3 years now. But that essentially embodies a microservices architecture. We broke that complex problem of an IMS core down into much more manageable chunks. We also embodied some other aspects of the microservices architecture, which is all around scale out and stateless transaction processing elements backed by open source state stores like Cassandra, which is also used by Netflix, by the way. It's a living, breathing example, if you like, of microservices applied to NFV. So, when network operators want to understand, the applicability of microservices to network functions virtualization, Clearwater is a really good example of that. And of course, it's open source. There's lots of good material about how it works and what its architecture looks like. But from the point of view of our roadmap, we expect all new products and evolutions of existing products to adopt this microservices approach more and more, because it's absolutely the right way to go for really almost any kind of virtualized network function that we can think of, at least the large-scale ones that exist in the core of the network.
Final question then, Martyn. How does that help a network operator to do something tomorrow they can't do today?
Well, it comes back to this agility thing. If there's some aspect of a service that they feel needs improving, and that improvement can be embodied in some evolution to an individual microservice component of an overall service, that can be implemented much more rapidly than trying to move some big monolithic piece of software forward. So that's the key advantage. But there are also development productivity advantages. By breaking the problem down in the right way and just focusing on building things that are very simple and very straightforward and understandable, you can actually get more done. You can actually achieve more quickly than you can with very large, complicated, multi-threaded applications.
Well, before a central line train comes through here and knocks us off our stools, Martyn Taylor, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.